You're listening to The Talent Sync, a collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Leah Daniels and Kevin Grossman. This episode is about AI applying and screening with the Jetsons. Someday. Enjoy the podcast. Leah, it's so great to see you and hear you. It feels like it's been forever. It's not only since HR Tech, I guess, but it still feels like forever since we've talked.
Well, since I last saw you, it's winter here in New England.
That's what I heard. I heard it was like it got cold, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we in a polar vortex? Are we just into fall? It was 30 degrees this morning. There was frost.
Wow,
I did not sign up for this. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's all right. That's all right. I'm going to go down to Nashville next week to Wreckfest, and it's going to be 100 degrees. So here it is.
I know. But is it pretty, though, in Boston? Are you getting fall colors now? Yeah,
it's beautiful.
So it's gorgeous now, yeah.
Always. This is the best. It is absolutely the best. I have a pond out back, and there is these maples, these bright red maples on the other side, and they're all reflective. It's beautiful. So yes, I get all the seasons.
That's wonderful.
30
degrees, see, like for us, because obviously it's way more mild on the West Coast, and this is the time of the year where it's kind of the last gasp of late summer for us. I mean, it's not hot on the coast where we live in Santa Cruz, but it in the afternoons still are hitting 70-ish. But we do have, but then it's a little cooler at night, but not 30 degrees though. But we do have a storm coming next week, so I'm glad that there's rain. It's early for us in our neck of the woods, but we always need the wet in the west. So
yeah, you guys want rain.
Yeah, but anyway, we really live in interesting times, don't we? I mean, just real quick before you dive into kind of the segue. Kind of a tangential thing is that this has been the past few weeks, I've started giving all the candy data reviews to a lot of our candy customers. Yes. They participated this year, whether they want a candy or not. And the thing that is fascinating that I'm hearing when I talk about the big picture and everything going on and that's impacting businesses and economies all around the world, all the things that are happening, and everybody is concurring with me that it is, in recent memory, and I would argue the past 25 years, it's the worst freaking candidate market in a long time. It is the worst candidate market in a long time.
I don't know. I still think we're in a tale of two cities. I think we are increasingly getting into a worse and worse candidate market in the professional space.
That's what I meant. More professional and management. More professional management.
Yep. And we're still in business as usual here, where there's not enough people to do the work in our hourly space.
That's true. And that's totally fair, because you still have tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs in the United States that haven't been filled. Can't fill them. But it is, so yes, the caveat is that especially for professional to management candidates in senior leadership, that is the worst market. And in our data, the aggregate data this year, management ratings across the board are like basement.
Right.
For candidates.
And I think because the positions aren't opening. Why are the positions not opening? Because companies can't forecast at this point. We are in a very bad place for forecasting our business, our sales. Yes. Nobody actually knows what the next 2 years look like. And I think that is the pointy end of the spear for our companies, is that how do you hire management? How do you hire professionals when you can't even see what you're going to sell in 3 months?
No,
can't figure it out.
But AI also continues to impact everything we do, which is part of the conversations that I had. So that's the segue. Where do you want to go, Leah, with that?
Oh, well, let's talk about two things. First, I had a good giggle because I was at HR Tech with you as well. And so I played a little game with myself, which is, as I walked around, I'm looking at all the booths going, who doesn't have AI on their booth? Like, that was my game. I have good news. I found a couple, but not many.
That's true.
AI is pervasive. Now, how much is real and fake? I don't know. But anyway, or as somebody said to me one day, how much is uppercase AI versus lowercase AI? Always a good question. But it got me thinking, and I was talking on one of I do a monthly roundtable. You've been a guest before on
Yeah.
my
Oh yeah. Yeah.
roundtable.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have interesting chit chats, and so last month I was talking with a wonderful gentleman. His name is Jonathan Turpin. He is the president of AIM Group, which is an organization out of Europe that focuses on marketplaces like jobs and real estate. And the topic was really about how does consumer behavior impact candidate behavior, and more particularly, how does AI in consumer behavior now impact jobs behavior? Like simple example, right? How often do you pick up your phone and talk to it now versus having typed in your search, right? Simple things there. Your
Mhm.
behaviors have changed how we interact with technology and how we interact with data and so forth. So Jonathan was here to talk about that. And so we were having a really interesting and data-centric conversation because Jonathan is full of amazing data.
Sure.
And Jerry Crispin, also an amazing person in our space, a
Yeah.
stalwart,
Of
joins the
course.
conversation. He was not my guest, but he's always my guest whenever he wants to be. And he came in and said, I think this is how AI is going to impact future for kids. I think it's him. This is Jerry's thinking, not Leah's thinking. That candidates are going to, come to a conclusion that they want to be a candidate. They are going to put that information out into the ecosystem, either because they
Hmm.
go to a company's website and say, I want to work for you, because they go to a job board or whatever a job board looks like in 5 or 10 years, because they talk to their personal assistant and
Yep.
tell their AI assistant that they're interested in work, a new
Yeah.
opportunity. And you will not apply for jobs in the traditional way anymore. There will be no more applications. There'll be no more resumes. Instead, you will have a conversation, a voice-based conversation with an AI that will then navigate you to your next opportunity. And that now juxtapose that to today's world of I applied for 4,000 jobs and got zero responses. Imagine the world in which you do, in fact, interact. Now, is that our world? What happens when you have a mismatch like you have today in the professional market, where you've got lots of people saying, I'm interested, I'm interested. And now you've had an AI conversation about it. Where does it go and how does it go? Nobody's figured that out. So like I think that's the conversation. Is Jerry right? I don't think he's wrong. I don't know if he's right, but I definitely don't think he's wrong.
I don't, yeah, and I agree. I think that, and I'm not disparaging it by saying that we're not jumping to the Jetsons yet, though, right? Because I think
No.
what no, but I think because there's a lot of problems right now with agentic AI too. That's
Yes.
not quite working the way we want, especially on the customer service front.
Yes.
There's a lot of backfiring that's happening now. To Jerry's point, these things are rapidly changing all the time. And what but today though, and I was telling you this before we started recording, that the past 5 6 years we've asked the companies that participate in our benchmark research, what kinds of AI recruiting tech are you using?
Yep.
The majority of adoption in our data to date has been, but when it comes to screening and hiring though, I don't know, there's still some stuff missing.
Yeah, I think that's the piece, right? At the end of the day, two things, right? Everybody has a long memory. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people remember Amazon's misstep.
Right.
And you
And by
mentioned,
the way, they admitted that, and that was in the podcast and in the book this journalist wrote. That
yeah,
Amazon was fully transparent about that at the time. At the time.
which at the time.
Yeah.
But also if you look at there's a great book that I love. It's been around for a while called Weapons of Math Destruction,
Yeah, I think
M-A-T-H,
you told me about
math.
that
Yeah.
before.
So
Yeah.
Kathy O'Neill is the author. She talks about the hiring and firing problem that they fired people based on an algorithm,
Yes,
based
that's
on
another thing
AI,
too. Yeah.
right? And I do think that we forget sometimes as hiring professionals that when you hire and fire people, those are people.
Yes.
And they're not a number, they're not a resource, they're human, and you have changed their life, good and bad, or maybe neutrally. But like if you take somebody out of one company and you bring them into yours and you're wrong, or the algorithm is wrong, or the AI is wrong, you are probably going to fire them too. And that will have changed their outcome. That will change their trajectory. That will change their life, right? And so
Yeah.
like I think we do have to proceed with caution on all these things.
We do, and I think that again, the vendors that I mean, and just because of the lawsuits that are out there pending still too, right? That we'll
Right.
probably continue to see more of those, of people who feel like they have been discriminated against because of the algorithm
I
as
saw
well.
recently that the number of age-related and race-related um, inquiries into the EEOC in the last 5 years has gone up significantly.
Yeah.
So part of that is maybe people are feeling it, but also part of people are, I think people are more aware that they can. There is more
Yeah.
access to information how to do it.
It
But
is.
we are definitely seeing an increase in the number of people filing the first step, right? The complainants on age and race related discrimination or the perception of. And I do think we're going to see some interesting outcomes from the legal system based on that. We'll see what happens.
We totally will. And I always tell every organization and employer that I work with that, kind of tongue in cheek, but seriously, I don't even play an employment lawyer on TV, right?
No.
And I'm never going to give legal advice, but what we have seen, we have definitely seen a dramatic increase in sentiment in our data, in the commentary around AI is screening me out. You are you are biased because of AI. Even for, I mean, especially for companies, even though 40% told us they're using more of these tools, again, the majority still, according to who we work with, aren't, or they're maybe it's on a roadmap in a year or two. But candidates really solely, but now they've always candidate we've all not nobody likes automation when you're screened out.
No.
And right, you have pre-screening questions, you have knockout questions, you have had assessments that are bolted in and around the application process. None of these things that have been AI that have been around for over 2 decades since we've had ATSs, right? And we've been applying online. But everything is now bucketed. Candidates perceive it all that way.
Right.
And because at some point it will all be this technology and
Well,
AI and
this is
algorithmically based, right?
I did see an article on
Say that
LinkedIn.
5 times fast.
I can't. Nope.
Algorithmically based.
Nope. Nope. Not gonna try. So I saw this great article the other day on LinkedIn. I do love LinkedIn, and put up by a guy named Martin Redstone. He's out of the UK, and he's kind of an
Okay.
AI
Yeah.
data wonk. And he was talking about how if you give three different AI screening tools the same set of resumes and say who's best, it will give you three very different answers. So that
Yes.
right there is
Yeah.
probably the first place to pause and
Yeah.
say, don't we need a convergence between what the human thinks or close to and what the AIs are coming out with before we agree that this is the way we're going to determine people's
I
futures in
think
life?
so. I think so. Totally.
I think
Right. I
that's
mean,
the thing.
and so going back to how we started, and um, I think it's very plausible what Jerry posited. Right. I do really believe that if this continues to get better, faster, smarter, and we've got good compliance guardrails more than what we have now. And by the way, some of the companies that we work with, and I'm sure the same with you, that are in states like New York and California, they have to be really careful about what they're using with AI for. And also in Ontario, and provincially in
Yep.
Canada, there's a law starting Jan 1 of all companies have to give closure to every single candidate that applies, especially whether you AI screen or not. And I don't know how they're going to. I had a
Oh,
conversation. I don't know how they're gonna enforce this, because most
I,
companies would say that they're doing that now, but somebody told me they're like, well, they're just going to give spreadsheet lists from their ATS greenhouse. Look, I checked all the boxes.
I don't, yeah, well, I don't know how you check it, but there's actually bigger problems than that, right? Because the sources of candidates are
I
not
know, right?
perfectly integrated. There's so many technology components that
Yeah.
this is
And
going
you
to,
and you know that being an integration company more than
I
anybody
know,
else,
I know
right?
that, right? And like even that moment between, so think about the moment between when the job shuts down, but a
Yeah,
candidate is still in flight coming over, and you hit a wall that says, nope, candidate can't go in. Who's responsible for telling that candidate that there's closure?
I know.
Um, I don't know, because nobody's like right now, many
Yeah.
candidates come in from some of these integrations that don't get closure. That is a fascinating problem that is for next week.
It
Uh,
is for, it is for next week and the next time, but it's going to, again, that's why I hate, I'm not a soothsayer at all. I never have been, but I know what's happening today it will be messy on the ground for the next few years. Things might start changing and tightening up and getting better potentially when it comes to what we're talking about now and the accuracy of the screening. But I have companies that have told me this year too that they are using it, but they're using it for very specific business units or recs or the screening of applications, I mean. And they're not because of the fear of litigation, they're not doing matching ranking. They're just trying to bucket people. Just put people in a bucket.
Yeah, it's so you see that, right? So I've seen two different kinds of screening approaches, and we'll probably wrap up on this, right?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
one is the ABCDEFG method, right?
Right.
So give them a, back to school, you get A's, you are B's, you are
Yep.
C's.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then you have the actual score. You're 100, you're 99,
Yes.
you're
Correct.
98, whatever it
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah.
The challenge, I think, I don't know who's solving for this problem, is how do you handle, like, for example, the folks in New York who opt out? Because I believe on the ABCDs, they get Bs. If you opt out, you get a B. So you are actually not being treated fairly if you opt out, because to be fair, if 2,000 people applied, way more A's showed up. You're out. And then how do you do that on a scoring basis when you're going to sort? The whole point is to sort with a
Yep.
blank score. You're
Correct.
out. I don't know. I've got a lot of questions, but I think I understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I do think on a like hard skills basis, you can probably do some level of scoring and matching. But
Yeah.
on the soft skills one, that's
No.
going to be the question. Where does that come from? And at the end of the day,
You're listening to the
I don't
Talent
know.
Sync.
AI is
Keep
hiring
on
humans
sinking.
to do human work
With
seems
us,
a little bit
not
weird
really
to me.
sync.
It does
Sync
seem.
with
I,
us.
I totally agree with you. And
Thank
this
you.
is why.
What do your candidates think of your recruiting process?
Most of the employers.
The
that are talking
annual
to, whether
Candy
they're using
Benchmark
any of
Research
these
and
tools or
Awards
not,
program helps
or
you and your
platforms or
organization
or
measure and understand
functionality,
your
whatever you wanna
overall
call it,
candidate
they
experience
are
ratings from
really trying to double
pre-application to
down on the
onboarding.
messaging to
Benchmark your
candidates.
candidate
Humans are making
experience
the final
today.
decision.
Go to
Yep.
surveil.com/candies,
And I think
Candes.
what I've been telling them all, Leah, is that the train has left the station and it ain't coming back.
Yeah, for
It ain't coming
sure.
back.
And I'm not sure it's even a train anymore. We might have moved to spaceships.
It's like Tron. It's Tron Ares. It's
It's
coming out. It's Tron
it's happening.
Ares.
It's
It's
happening.
happening now.
I love it. I
Anyway,
love it.
always a pleasure, Leah, to catch up
Likewise.
with you. I can't wait to see you again soon.
Yes.
And you're going to be traveling again. I'm doing a little bit, but none of as much as you. So you stay safe out there, and hopefully we get those flight towers back in order for.
Shh. You be quiet right now. We are going to have seamless travel plans for the
Okay,
next few.
seamless travel plan.
Seamless
Okay.
travel plans.
I know. I couldn't even describe what I was trying to say. Anyway, Leah,
Ah,
great seeing you. We'll see you again soon. And everybody, keep getting talent synced, and we appreciate you listening. Thanks.
bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Surveil, Candy, and Job Sync collaboration. More episodes soon. Subscribe to our podcast via your favorite podcast player today.